All right, I am here. I did not commit myself to being here today because Stellar's taking a little bit of time off from work. Uh, we don't really have any place to go, but we did. She actually did go to the nail salon because we wouldn't have done that for a stylistic reason, but she's got one of those ingrown toenails, and the gal at the salon takes care of that. So that was getting really bad. We were getting to a point where we are like, "Oh God, I hope they open." So we went, and I don't know if I'm on. Yeah, we'll find out. So here I am, and I'm just gonna draw. I didn't know for absolutely for sure if I was gonna do a video until about 30 seconds ago. So it is. It is now. The time is approximately now, and I will draw one of those things that I draw. Alrighty. I hope if you take away nothing else from watching my videos, uh, but you're a person who wants to draw, if you take nothing else away, I'm hoping that you will take away the fact that you don't start a drawing with eyelashes. Tick, tick, tick. Um, hey, there's Sharon. Um, yeah, you don't start a drawing that way. Um, you don't start a drawing with tiny little details. You don't start a drawing with perfect outlines. Okay, you start a drawing with big dark shapes. Um, the spaces that you squint your eyes so that your model over there just turns into blotches of black and white, and those are the first things you want to put down is those big blotches of black and white. And you're drawing, um, this already looks like a face, even though it looks like a face almost in as much as a face in the clouds or a face in the rocks on the side of a cliff can look like a face. Um, but it still looks like roughly a face. And that's the first thing you need to get down if you're drawing a face is those big masses that look like a face. The details come in later, if at all. Sometimes they don't even come in at all. Stellar and I are going to get tested for the thing in a couple of days. Um, I have wanted this whole time, I've wanted a chance to go get tested just so I know. And as I have that looming towards me, I find um, there's some trepidation about knowing. Um, there's, I don't know. I guess in some way there was a little bit of comfort or something in being able to say, well, we just don't know, do we? And they're going to test us on Saturday, and after a few days, we'll know one way or the other. We're going to get both of the tests done, so we'll know um, not only if we do have it, but if we have had it. Arizona's trying very hard to address all of this. There's clinics that might normally be closed on the weekend that are just taking a bunch of volunteers. It's rather like those spay and neuter clinics that they do every now and then, um, and where they just volunteer an office, and then they get a bunch of veterinarians from all around the community to come in, and they make an assembly line, and they take a cat, and one they really do this. They have a long stainless steel table, and one of them grabs a cat and slices and shoves it, and the other one gets in and does whatever they do, and they shove it down down the thing, and they do it like an assembly line. Sarah says I can practice by shoving Q-tips up my nose. I'm going to get right on that. I'm going to do that. So there's that, and then there's a blood test also to test the other part, whether I have the antibodies for it. So we're going to do it. I want to do it. I'm scared of doing it. I never like a blood test. I'm always filled with dread when I'm going to have a blood test. But I still want to do it. But I do find myself saying, okay, what do I do with the information? Which actually is kind of not relevant. The state wants the information, not about me specifically, but about how it's spreading and how, what are your habits? Who are you in contact with? And that kind of thing. Um, so we're contributing to the data pool in as much as anything else. But it's always true, you could go into a doctor's office and he could read a thing and go, "Yep, you're completely clean," and then you could touch the doorknob on the way out of the building, and now you're not clean. So, hi Russ, finger stick or the needle? I honestly have no idea. Um, yeah, that's your answer. I have no idea. Um, I suppose the finger stick is more probable because they are scheduling a ton of people, um, almost at the same time. They're like, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, they've got 4 time slots open at 8, and then like 4 more time slots open at 8:05 or something like that. So it's going to be fast, whatever it is they do. They're not going to take any time about it, unless I faint on them, and then they're going to have to take more time. Yeah, they're doing what they call a testing blitz. They're just trying to get as many people tested as humanly possible. There's a bunch of clinics doing it. Swab and needle, I believe. Don't let them stick your drawing hand. Sometimes they stick my drawing arm. I haven't. They stick my drawing arm, and I'm kind of worthless for the day because actually, when I get a blood test, I'm typically just worthless for the day. Um, and it's all up here. I mean, there's no physical problem usually. I had one blood test where the woman was so freaking brutal on me. Uh, she actually did damage me. She just like took this blunt needle, put it in my arm, and hit it with a mallet to make it go in. I mean, it was awful. She had she was loading like a bunch of different files because they were testing for everything in the world, and she would change the little cartridge. Uh, she would change that out and she'd go like so it just jabbed it in, and I was over there going, and I was just dying. And then somebody was talking out in the hall, and so she's leaning over, looking out in the hall to pay attention to the conversation. And the needle's going back and forth, back and forth. My God, I had a bruise like that big. Stayed for a month. Anyhow, I'm saying that to try to sound less like an absolute crybaby about the fact that I don't want to go get a blood test. I never want to go get a blood test. Mostly because I'm an absolute crybaby. Hmm. phlebotomist. That's a crazy word. Sorry to miss the blood draw talk, but gotta go. Gosh, Evan, dang it. You've got to rearrange your whole life schedule so that, it fits around my random video time. Obviously. Um, yeah, yeah. So, Russ, a couple years ago, I made a set of coloring books and, shipped them out to people. I did a Kickstarter, and so I had to ship books to everybody that supported my Kickstarter. And also, there were people who bought original art uh, from the coloring books, which were these size sheets of paper. And thank you, Daniel. Um, so I had ordered mailing tubes. I had packages of mailing tubes, and had those. I've had those for a long time. Every time I needed a mailing tube, I still had a case of them over there. And so yesterday I went to mail a couple of the uh, pieces of art that I've sold recently off of doing this, and realized I have a case, but there are no mailing tubes in it anymore. I'm down. I've used my last one apparently, so I've got to go buy some more. So the tiger is in the mail. Probably a conversation that all self-publishers have is, yeah, it's all good fun until you get your printing done, and then you don't have a house anymore because you've got stacks and stacks of boxes of printed books, and you've got stacks and stacks of boxes of mailing envelopes and mailing tubes and uh, bubble wrap, and you realize we need a bigger house, which is going to cut into our profit margin just a little bit. Hang on a second. Standing off to the side and drawing, I always do things a little lopsided. I don't realize it until I'm done and I'm over, looking at it more straight on, and I realize problems. But if I get around here and look at it straight on while I'm on video, you're looking at the back of my head instead of the drawing. My apologies. do this to keep my hand's always a little bit greasy, whether you think so or not. And that grease can leave a little patch in the paper just from resting your hand on the paper, and then you go back and try to do some shading or something, and that greasy spot has soaked into the paper and nothing else is going to soak in there, so your pencil will just kind of skip across it, and just, you know, you won't get anything or you won't get much. So it's not a good idea to rest your hand on your paper, although it's a very natural thing to do. We all grew up doing it. Those lips, they look like okay lips, but hers are bigger. I've got to make them bigger a little bit. Yeah, they're wide enough, but they're not thick enough. A lot of times you get used to drawing something a particular way, and you just think, okay, this is the way it looks, and you kind of develop a just a natural shorthand. You know, there's something that your hand just wants to do by reflex almost, and when something's a little bit different, you just go, oh no, that's not right. Back off a bit. Especially messy if you're left-handed, I bet you're about to say. Don't always remember to draw right to left. Should you draw right to left? It's just kind of to keep your hand out of the smudges. I draw all over the place. I'm sure you've noticed. I don't start in one end. I know this fantasy artist named Donato Giancola, and um, he will start a drawing up here in the corner, and he'll draw everything that needs to be on the page in great detail, and then he'll just keep going like that across, like a printer, but starting in the corner, and he'll have this elaborate, detailed scene, um, that just you do that too. You all over the page, or you start in the corner. But it's just amazing, and then he'll go back, um, when he goes to do a painting of the thing. What he'll do is he'll take his drawing down to the print shop, and he'll take a huge piece of watercolor paper that's as thick as his printer as the print shop can run through their printer. Sorry. So he'll take this watercolor paper down, and he'll say, print it, so he'll take his drawing, and he'll say, blow this up to the size of this paper and print it. And so they print it. Well, these days, printer ink is archival. It'll last 1,000 years. And so he takes that watercolor paper home, um, soaks it in water in the bathtub, and then he takes a sheet of masonite and puts acrylic medium, uh, just paints it all over the sheet of masonite, and pulls the watercolor paper out and lays it down. I think he paints the medium on the back of the watercolor paper as well. So they're both wet and gluey, and he glues it down, and then he takes a roller and rolls all the bubbles out, and so he's got this oversized Xerox print on watercolor paper glued to masonite, and then when that's done, he'll paint on top of that, which is really cool, and he gets exquisite detail. He's amazing. He's an amazing artist, and I have nothing near the patience to do what he does, even if I had access to the same materials and all that kind of stuff. There's just no way. There's just no way I would do what he does at all. Um, I just want to grab a sheet of paper and and start drawing on it. Just draw all over it. And if I were to transfer this drawing to a canvas or a board, uh, I'd paint straight on the masonite. I'd put some gesso on it first, but I'd paint straight on the masonite and just draw right on it. Sketchy lines and scribbles and everything, and then you know erase them, paint over them, whatever it takes to get the artwork onto the paper. If I don't feel like I've made some progress, if I don't feel like I've gotten something done, the project starts to depress me, um, and I don't want to finish it. Even when I'm kind of getting somewhere, it's it's been hanging around unfinished too long. I don't want to touch it, and so that's one of many reasons why possibly I shouldn't want to be an illustrator. Because if you're an illustrator, you've been over this thing and over it and over it. You've shown it to an art director, and she said, "Oh, I like that, but make the hair straight," or and then you come back and you do it again. You submit, and she goes, "Oh, I like that, but you know, make her eyes green," or I don't know. You just go around and around, and I would hate every single painting, um, before I ever had it finished. I would hate it so bad I wanted to throw it in the garbage. Every single thing, because I don't like going around and around. I like getting somewhere. I like getting something done. I like the spontaneity. When I'm painting, I like to feel more like an impressionist, be spontaneous and all over the place. She's got, as you could probably guess, very curly hair, almost like old-fashioned telephone cords. Little spirals. I also have very curly hair, but it won't do that. It'll go in this one will be in spirals, and then this one will be in long loose waves, and then this one will stick straight up in the air. If it was short, when my parents used to cut it short, it just did anything it wanted to as long as it was ugly. Cheaper than canvas? Well, the masonite and all that kind of stuff. Probably. Yeah, I mean, you can buy masonite in the lumber store. Um, that's fairly cheap. A big sheet of watercolor paper is not something I typically buy, but they can get real expensive. Um, but probably cheaper still than a canvas of that size. Um, I don't know why he has that preference. I know I have the preference. For me, using wood was the one thing that I could afford because I was finding wood on the ground, things that people were throwing away, old signs, lumber, doors, uh, cabinet doors, that sort of thing that people threw out. I don't know what his motivation is to use the masonite. A lot of people do not like, the canvas is stretched across a frame, and so there's a little bit of a trampoline effect when you're doing your brush strokes. It kind of bounces, and if that's how you've grown to know how to paint, that bounce becomes part of the experience. It becomes something that you love. It's just like, you get in the zone when the brush is doing that little bounce, that little trampoline. And if that's not how you learned how to paint, that bouncing around just drives you out of your mind. And also the texture of the canvas and everything will drive you crazy. So my earliest paintings were on solid materials like boards, windows, things like that, not canvas, because I was painting signs and murals and stuff like that. I'm going to digress. Um, I had a painting teacher. I took an oil painting class at the community college, and the teacher she was younger than me, but she was a very good painter, especially landscapes. Her landscapes were wonderful. Um, but she had this very soft, girly voice, and she would kind of walk up behind you, and you couldn't hear her coming. And if you were doing something wrong, she would watch you for a while, and she'd go, and you just hear that be your first warning. You hear this behind you, and you go, "Oh crap!" It's like because that she's about to tell you, you know, something that you were doing wrong. And so yeah, uh, she came up behind me one time. She said, and I had a board, and she also had, well, I mean, I was painting on a canvas board like everybody else was using. I made sure I was using, for the sake of the class, that I was using the same materials everybody else was using. But um, she said, "I don't know where you get this scrubbing, grinding style with your paintbrush." She goes, "I didn't teach you that." And she always had theories about the differences between men and women, and I was the only guy in the classroom. And so she started going off about something like that men are aggressive and trying to combat the canvas or something like that. And so I was analyzing because I was like, she's right. I'm taking this brush and I'm just like cramming it into the canvas and scrubbing it around. And so she's doing this, talking, and I'm going, why am I doing that? Because I know it's not, because of testosterone, but then I realized all of my paintings, um, except window signs you primarily do with a roll. You just do with a roller. But when I'm painting art, it was usually on a wall. And all around here, the walls have these deeply textured, sometimes it's even really thick stucco. And that's what all my paintings were on, very textured surfaces. So if you just took a brush stroke and you made a really light little brush stroke, you had a bunch of skips in it where the brush skipped over, and you left this white behind. So you had to go back and push the paint into all the little holes and all the little recesses in order to get any coverage. And that had become my habit. uh, so I told her that, and she kind of got annoyed that I was arguing with her. I wasn't agreeing with her theory, but that was, I'm sure that is why I did it. And I'm sure that there's subtler ways in which the sign painting thing still pops up. I know it does. I know there's times when the colors I chose, especially as I look back, I'm changing. I'm evolving. But if I look back on some of my older work, like all this octopus art I did a few years ago, um, there's some very unself-conscious sign painter crap in all of that. Um, I mean, I knew that was going on, and the whole series came out because I decided to just get out of my own way and let the sign painter run loose. But even knowing that, looking at it a few years later, I realized, wow, there were things I didn't even realize I was doing, and I'm still, black outlines and boxes around everything, frames around everything, and uh, the way the image would overpower the board or the paper or whatever. And I still do that. You know, I could have chosen to draw her very small, and draw a lot of things around her, put her in a room, put her in a landscape, and draw things around her. But I have a predisposition to say, well, I'm going to draw this girl's face, and I draw her as big as possible on the paper, because I have that. That's kind of a sign painter thing. You almost want to overwhelm the space that you're drawing on. I lost count of the number of times that a client would point to the window that they wanted me to do. I'm supposed to write pizza or something in this window, and they'd say, I want the word pizza 4 feet tall, 4 feet tall. And I said, your window's only 3 feet tall. I don't care. I want to say 4 feet tall. And so there is a way, sort of, that you can do that. And what you do, what the hell is that? Oh, um, okay. So what you do, here's your window. I would frequently come in and do a box or a rectangular panel in some bright color, and that kind of, in a way, creates the illusion that that's the window, because from a distance this just looks black. So then there, in sign painter terminology, you have graphics and super graphics. So if this was a graphic, you write pizza. Okay. If it's a super graphic, you write pizza, because the graphic is trying to, you know, supersede the uh, the context that it's in. So you try to make it bust its way out. And so that background panel helped sometimes just to give it a contrasting color. I make it blue, and then I do the pizza lettering in orange, or the other way around. Um, but something like that would help to make the lettering appear to be 4 foot tall in a 3 foot tall space. And that's something that became very instinctive to me, because the client wanted the most bang for their buck. And I wanted them to get the most bang for their buck, because I wanted I wanted the sign to be effective. I wanted somebody to go, I don't know, should I have this sign done? I'm not really sure. And they're always kind of, how much is it going to cost? And then, I go out and I paint the sign, and then they're like calling me on the phone a week later going, you know, you like doubled my business in one day, or something. I'm like, I know, because they worked like that. They always worked like that. So that is a habit that I have yet to get out of, where I kind of see this absolutely filling the frame, the picture frame, or something. And I suppose I could ease off on that some, but that's kind of the instinct that I'm working from. Thank you, Sissy. Um, and it's been 45 minutes, and this is probably all wrong. So when I shut off the video, I'm going to turn around and face the paper straight on, where I can see it, and then I'll try to level up where I got the cheekbones lopsided or something like that, because I'm almost certain that I've done that, because I do it. And so I'll try to straighten her up, and then I don't know, maybe we'll come back tomorrow and do something else to it. Again, I'm not absolutely certain that I'm coming back tomorrow. Like I say, Stellar has got some time off, and we might, take a drive or something to just not be stuck in the house. We've been stuck in the house for quite a while. And, we can't go someplace where we hang out with people, but maybe we can go someplace where we can hang out with crocodiles or something. So I'm going to end the video here, and thank you all for coming. Thank you, Evan. Plus, she sounds annoying. Who's annoying? Oh, the teacher. Oh, she was funny. You just learn how to take people. Hopefully, you learn how to take people, and I really really liked her. And yeah, I said I was gonna sign off. Now I'm not gonna sign off. You start. It's your fault. Um, I said I was gonna. I liked this teacher. But she had these things. She would just go off about various things, and yeah, it was easy to set her off. And I'm a little bit of a dick, so sometimes I couldn't resist. and and so I said, like one time, she was from the Ukraine, so she grew up in the Soviet Union, and her parents were tortured by the Soviets just for the hell of it, okay, just because they could. And so she hates the Soviets. She hates the idea of communism, socialism. I get much of my ideologies about communism and socialism directly from her and a couple other people I've known who lived there. And so, somebody will say something like, "Oh, this country's turning communist," or something like that. And this woman, oh man, she would put you up against the wall and she would tell you what it was like to live in a country that really was communist. I mean, you were going to hear it. You're going to hear it for like 30 minutes. Okay. And but she had a tendency to lump that into anything somebody said that was a little bit like anti-capitalism, anti-corporation, something like that. That would set her off. And okay, so one day, um, I don't like Walmart. So I had said something about not liking Walmart, and she just kind of that just kind of triggered that thing with her where she thought I was criticizing the capitalist system or something like this, and I wasn't. I'm fine with capitalism. I'm fine with corporations. I'm fine with big box grocery stores and department stores, but I hate Walmart. But anyway, she went off, and she went off for a long time. And it's not that we had to stop what we were doing, but we did have to sit there. We're painting away and we're listening to her going on and on and on. And then the next day, um, we would hang these plastic bags, grocery bags, off of our easel. So this girl came around. She goes, "Hey, you need a plastic bag?" And she was handing me a Walmart bag. And I said, "I don't want that Walmart bag." And, oh God, off she went again. And we listened to it for another half an hour. And, and I came into class the next time we came into class, and one of the a couple of the ladies stopped me at the door and she grabbed me by the collar and she goes, "Don't you say Walmart." And so I was like, okay. Because they didn't want to hear it again. I have several other stories, but I'll let it go. I'll let it go, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow, maybe, or some other time. Thanks. Bye bye.